Hi scholars, Miss Pearson here, and today in science we're going to be continuing to talk about light. So let's head straight into our discussion on light. So far in science, we've asked and answered so many questions about light, and our brains have gotten so full of knowledge about light and what happens when we shine a light source on objects. We know that some objects that are super thin and that you can totally see through, like a Ziploc baggie, we know that when we shine light on these see-through objects, almost all the light is able to show up on the other side. And that's how we're able to see through the objects and see what's on the other side. These objects, scientists tend to call transparent. Say it with me. Transparent. But there are also objects that are also tend to be very thin. But we're not really able to completely see through them. So that might be an object like a tissue. If I look through a tissue, I might be able to kind of see what's on the other side. If I have a light source, I can kind of see what's on the other side, but I can't completely see through them. And when I shine a light on them, some of the light shows up on the other side, but not all of the light. And that's what prevents me from being able to see what's completely on the other side. Scientists tend to call these objects translucent. Say it with me. Translucent. Yeah, we know all about translucent objects. But there's also a group of objects that block all the light. These objects tend to be super thick, like my planner or like a piece of cardboard. When I shine light on this object, a thick object, all the light gets soaked up on one side and none of it shows up on the other side. So all of the light gets blocked by the object. These objects tend to make really awesome shadows from all the light being blocked. And scientists call these objects opaque. Say it with me. Opaque. So besides learning about transparent, translucent, and opaque objects, we also talked about differences between shiny and dull objects. We know that kinds of shiny objects might be a ring or a shiny tea mug. We also know that there are dull objects like trees or notebooks or sweaters. When you shine light on a shiny object like a mirror or like a piece of tin foil, a lot of times that light gets reflected back, which means it comes back and it might hit you in the face and blind you a little bit. Notice here how when I shine my light source, my flashlight on the tin foil, it comes back and lights up my face. That tells me that that shiny object, the light is reflecting off of it. So the light is reflecting off of that shiny object. But when we see a dull object, what tends to happen is that we shine light on that object and light doesn't really come back and light up my face. So when I shine light on this oven mitt, the light doesn't really come back and light up my face like it did with the tin foil. Instead, the light gets what we called absorbed. So it gets soaked up by that object so that it lights up, but it doesn't come back and reflect and hit me in the face and blind me like a shiny object would. Now, we know that some objects reflect light and some objects absorb light, but there's definitely some objects that reflect light better than others. So we know from last time when we got to watch Miss Scherer's experiment that objects like mirrors tend to reflect the most light back. That's why when you look in a mirror, what you see in the mirror you call your reflection, because it's what is being reflected back for you to see. But some objects still reflect light, but not quite as much. So my tin foil, well, it definitely reflects back. It doesn't reflect as much light back as a mirror would. We also learned in Miss Scherer's experiment that when we crumble up tin foil and we shine light on it, it still can reflect some light back, but definitely not as much as it does when the tin foil is flat. So objects that reflect light or absorb light can be on a spectrum, which means they can range or vary or be different, in that some of them reflect way more light than others. Now that we've reviewed and talked about transparent, translucent, and opaque objects, and we've also thought about what happens when you shine a light source on a shiny or dull object, I want to see how much you've learned already in science. So you're going to head to Seesaw, and on Seesaw, you are going to drag the object to the category it belongs in. So there are 6 different categories on Seesaw and 6 different objects. What you are going to do is you are going to pick up the object using your hand and drag it to whatever category you think it belongs in. So the categories are an object that lets a lot of light through, or a transparent object, an object that lets some light through, or a translucent object, an object that lets very little light through, or an opaque object, a shiny object that reflects a lot of light, a shiny object that reflects some light, and a dull object that absorbs light. So for example, this mirror, do you think that's a transparent object where you can see right through it? A translucent object where it's a little foggy but you can kind of see through? An opaque object where you can't see through it? A shiny object that reflects a lot of light? A shiny object that reflects some light? Or a dull object that absorbs light? Which one do you think it is? I know the mirror is a shiny object that reflects lots of light. When I shine my light on a mirror, lots of light comes back and hits me in the face. So I would click on the mirror and I would drag it to this category that says a shiny object that reflects a lot of light. Keep doing that until all 6 of your objects are in the correct categories. Can't wait to see how much you've learned so far in science. Bye, scholars. See you on Thursday.